Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vasyatyahishakarine Namaste Saraswati Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vasyatyahishakarine Namo Vishnu Padaya Gaura Prestaya Bhutale Shishima Bhakti Prajana Keshaviti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Gaura Prestaya Bhutale Shishima Bhakti Prajana Keshaviti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Saraswati Iti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Saraswati Iti Namine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari
ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वञ्चाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। गुरवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकायै तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातरया विभाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया सर्वोऽभिनेदु तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। तवैवास्मि न जीवामि त्वया विना इति विज्ञा राधे तन्नय माम चरणन्तिके। First of all, my millions of dandat pranam in the lotus feet of my Paramaradhyatam Guru Pad Padma Nitya Leela Pravishtom Vishnu Pad Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaja. And the same millions of dandat pranam in the lotus of feet of my Shiksha Guru Nitya Leela Pravishtom Vishnu Pad Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj. Yesterday we explained Nimi Maharaj question and one Rishi, now Yogendra, answering. In brief, the first question was, what? First question? Oh. What is Bhagavad Dharma? By hearing that, our endless pain of endless birth, death, all suffering, old age coming, going, and so much suffering in this world coming, will be stopped forever. And we will be happy. And transcendental Krishna Prem can be attained. And especially he told the process of that bhakti is first to surrender himself in the lotus feet of Guru, Diksha, and learning all kinds of Krishna Tattva, Jiva Tattva, Maya Tattva, everything from him, serving him always, tadviddhi pranipatena pariprasnena seva. Then upadechanti te jnanam jnanina tattvadarshina. Then they kindly tell all these things to you, by which your bhakti will increase. Especially we have forgotten Krishna. And that is why we are coming, going in this world. So many sufferings coming. But still we don't want to serve Krishna. So, Guru is very powerful. He is representative of Krishna. If you will take his shelter, then very soon, by his services, you can attain this high class of bhakti. This is the purport of first. And then second question, what is the symptom of Bhagavad Bhakta? How we can recognize that he is the best Bhakta among all Bhaktas? And then second, Kabi, Habib. Then Habib began to answer that there are three kinds of Vaishnava: Uttam, Madhyam and Kanishta. And he told Uttam Bhagavat, like Prahlad Maharaj, he will see his worshipable deity and his mood in his worshipable, in the heart of all. And in Krishna he will see all living entity, whole world, and giving respect to all. Then he is Uttam Bhagavat. And then Prema Maiti Kripa Poksha Jaha Karo Samadhyama. Not Apeksha, Upeksha. Upeksha. To Krishna Prem and the Maitri with Vaishnava, three kinds. Those who are Uttam, superior than me, than us, then Seva Yukta Maitri, honoring him. Those who are equal, or Maitri, like friend. And those who are some junior but nearer, they should be like Siksha disciple. And then who are ignorant but not Mayavadi, especially not Mayavadi, Nirvisheshvadi, to whom Kripa, kindness, he gives them his association till Hari Katha tells, and thus he makes them Madhyam and Madhyam to Uttam Bhagavat. And those who worship deities and they honor only their Gurudev, but not giving honor to other Vaishnavas and also to others, they don't respect them, then he is Kanishta. So we should know all these things and properly we should behave. Vaishnava, Kanishta, Madhyam and a special kind of Uttam Bhakta, Vaishnava Chudamani among them. You should know that even whole world's opulence or wealth coming or going, they don't be worried or so happy. Always no worldly desire, detached from the world. Samadarshi, equal to all, but a special honor to Vaishnava. Oh, he is Uttam Bhagavat among them. And those, for a moment, He is not disremembering, forgetting Krishna for a moment, like a madhu, like unbroken stream of honey, always remembering Krishna. And he has binded Krishna in his heart with the rope of love and affection, pranay rasna. Oh, this is most supreme high class of Vaishnava. By these symptoms, really you can know and give them honor proper. If you are neglecting Uttam Vaishnava or Madhyam Vaishnava and giving respect to those who are foolish, having no quality, and telling, oh, I am first class Uttam Mahabhagavad, then you are cheated. So you must know all these things and give proper respect to Vaishnava and proper upeksha to others. This is second. Now, king became very happy and told, oh Prabhu, I want to know what is Maya, by which whole world are covered. And they were taking birth after birth. And so many species of life. I want to know. Nemi Maharaj. Nemi Maharaj is asking and Nemi Maharaj is
ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमामि विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनीति नामने। नमामि विष्णुपदाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्रीमद् भक्तिवेदान्त नारायणीति नामने। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। I have my humble obeisances at the lotus feet of my beloved Diksha Guru, Nityalila Pravishta Shishima Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. At the lotus feet of my beloved Shiksha and Sannyas Guru, Rupanugavara Shishima Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaja. At the lotus feet of all...
One thing I forget to tell for a moment, that if anyone will follow this Bhagavad Dharma, Shranam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam, all these things, then if he will run very fast, closing eyes, even he will not fall down or derailed. What is the meaning? I told in morning that Vaidhi Bhakti is very slowly going. In Bhakti very carefully looking, but even there is chance to be derailed. Not safe. And Raganuga Bhakti, rapid running in force, closing their eyes. What means? If in Raganuga Bhakti, fast running, if he neglects some limbs of bhakti, even no heart, like example has been given. एवं व्रतास्व नाम जातानुरागोदित चुप्त उच्चै हसत तथो रोदति रोति गायत उन्माद्यत लोक बाह्य. what he is doing? Oh, he becomes mad, chanting the name of Krishna and singing the sweet pastimes of Krishna, and becomes totally mad. सुभद्राणि रथांगपाणे जन्मानि कर्माणि च ज्ञानि लोके. He becomes shameless in the street even. Oh Krishna, where you are? Laughing sometimes weeping, sometimes becomes so silent. If he sees Krishna here, embracing him. So, if anyone is going on the Raganga path, running fast, closing eyes, that is neglecting some limbs of Vaidhi Bhakti, Lord, because he is totally mad. When he will remember all these things, Vaidhi Bhakti, like Haridas Thakur, one Krishna name always, and he neglected others, but he used to hear from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sometimes. So in this way, one is Vaidhi Bhakti, slowly going, closing eyes very carefully, and you know, Khurasya Dhara Nisita Duratyaya. World is like very sharp sword. When what calamity, danger or suffering will come, anyone does not know. Anytime your death may come. So, at once go to Gurudeva, surrender and serve him, and learn all these. So this is the name now.
I also offer my obeisances to Dandigal, my senior god brothers, god sisters, and all Vaishnavas, Hare Krishna. So, Srila Gurudeva has explained that Nimi Maharaj, he's asking the Navyagendras. So Havi Kavi, they've explained, as Srila Gurudeva has just now summarized. Now, Nimi Maharaj, he's asking about material energy, and Antariksha Rishi, he's giving explanation. So in his explanation, there are two aspects. One is he's describing how the living entities, conditioned living entities, become bewildered by the material energy. They engage in material activities due to false identification. They're suffering, thinking that I'm this body, suffering birth and death repeatedly, and thinking that they're happy, and repeatedly going through actual distress, so-called happiness and distress, but actually all distress. This is first aspect. So it's explaining that the living entity identifies himself with the body, just like when Srila Vyasadeva, he saw in trance, Atmanam Chigunatmakam. The living entity is conscious, spirit, soul, but somehow or other, by the influence of the material body, is thinking that I, whom seeing matter, am actually matter. It's completely irrational. This is the influence of the material energy. So this is false ego. Sometimes we think that false ego means he's very puffed up. This is just one aspect of false ego. False ego means ego identification, false identification. So what is this false identification? Krishna himself has explained in Srimad Bhagavatam when all the sages appeared at Kurukshetra. Yasyatma buddhi kanapechitak jatake Sadhi kalatradishu baumejidi yasyat tirtha buddhi salileva kahijit janesha vigeshu sayev gokara. If I think that I'm actually this body, which is actually composed, as Gurudeva has explained, stool, urine, latrine, and all nasty things, then this is a mistake, big mistake. Or if I think that actually I'm a member of my family, I belong to innumerable families, human families, dog families, cat families, whale families, jellyfish families, all sorts of families. So this present family is not my family. But I'm thinking I'm a part, I have to do what my children say, what my mother says, my father says, my husband, my wife says, I don't have time to serve Krishna. This is also false identity. Then I'm Russian, I'm English, we identify with our country, our community, American, French, whatever. So we have our own particular ways of doing things. I've got my duties to my country. This is also false identification. And then falsely identifying with our religious beliefs. Going, for example, to a place of pilgrimage and simply performing rituals, ritual bath, instead of hearing from the pure devotee who's sitting and ready to give Harikatha. Just like when we go to Nirvaghat, previously with Srila Gurudeva. So, on the bank of Ganga, thousands of the pilgrims, they all jump into Ganga for bath. And Srila Gurudeva is sitting with the deities. He's saying, now we shall see who wants to take bath in the nectar of Ganga and who wants to take bath in the nectar of Harikatha. So this is also false identification. Then how we can become free. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's explained in Jaiva Dharma that the way to become free from this is only by association, identifying with pure devotee. Just like Srila Gurudeva said, what is your identity? Actually, we don't know. We can say spirit soul. What is spirit soul? We don't know. At least I don't know. But what do we know? What are we acting as? Acting as servant, disciple of Guru. This is our identity. So, Thakur Bhaktivinoda, he explains there's 4 moods in relation to the pure devotee. Atma Buddhi, Jata Buddhi, Ijja Buddhi, and Tirtha Buddhi. That if we think Atma Buddhi, the pure devotee, is dearer than my life. Atma, actually, Gurudeva Atma, he's my life and soul, actually. Jata Buddhi, that my family is Gurudeva and his family of devotees. Ijja Buddhi, that my life energy belongs to Gurudev, not to my country. I want to die for Gurudev, not to die for yes, George Bush in his righteous struggle for the oil fields. And Tirtha Buddhi, that Gurudev is a place of pilgrimage. So if we adopt this relationship, we practice and develop this relationship to pure devotee, then we can become free from these 4 modes of false identification, otherwise not. Then second aspect of Sri Antariksha's instruction, it's how the material energy becomes unmanifest. So, Sri Kapiladev has explained how the material energy appears. At first sight, it seems like a kind of mythological gobbledygook from the Western point of view. But actually, this Sankhya philosophy is the most consistent and self-consistent explanation of our situation in the material world anywhere. The material scientists are hopelessly confused. They neglect consciousness, and then they are like ritualizing our identity with the material nature. They're telling us we're just brain waves, basically. Just waves in the brain. So, Kapiladev explains that, first of all is Pradhan, and then by influence of time comes Mahatattva, and then false ego in 3 modes, ignorance, passion, and goodness. So after the mode of ignorance, first comes sound. So at least the scientists got that right, Big Bang Theory. So first there's sound, and then sound is a subtle form of space. So the Vedic explanation is very simple. They're looking what are the essential elements of experience. Material scientists are supposed to be doing that, but they don't do it. So, in the essential aspects of experience, solid, liquid, energy, movement, and accommodation, space. If you look around, that's all you can see. Everything else is details of these 5. These are the elements of what we experience. But then we have to think, but actually what we're seeing form, touch, taste, smell. These are also elements. But then we need the senses to perceive these things. So these are 5 more elements. And then the active senses. And then there's the subtle elements, mind, intelligence, false ego, chitta, like this. Very, very, completely, perfectly self-consistent. So, Kapiladev describes the gradual appearance. First of all, sound, then space. Then space transforms through the influence of time into motion, which is wind, air. And then that transforms into fire, which is energy. Then that transforms into water with the subtle element of taste. And then that transforms into earth with the subtle element of smell. So now, and then the senses of the living entities are activated, and then we identify with the sense objects, and off we go for another creation until we meet with the pure devotee. So now Antariksha Rishi, he's explaining the winding down. So he says at earth, first of all, there's a great fire comes. No, first of all, there's rain. There's raindrops. I don't know if they're as wide as elephants' trunks or if they're as long as elephants' trunks. But anyway, the big raindrops. And that goes for 100 years. And there's a fire. Huh? Drought. Okay. Drought for 100 years, then rain. A fire comes from the mouth of Sankarshan. And then a great wind. This is not ordinary wind. This wind is robbing the elements, robbing the gross elements of their subtle elements. So it takes the smell out of earth, and earth collapses back into water. It takes the taste out of water, water collapses back into fire. It takes the form and light out of fire, and fire collapses back into air. And then it takes the motion out of air, air collapses back into space, and then space collapses also. And then the Mahatattva also collapses, all unmanifest. So this is our timetable. Unless we actually follow the instructions of the pure devotee, we not only birth after birth after birth, but creation after creation after creation, bhutva bhutva praliyate, repeatedly taking birth, becoming manifest, and again becoming destroyed. So this is the explanation of Antariksha's explanation about material energy. Hare Krishna.
The purport of his explanation is that what is Maya? By words we cannot explain, but by the activities of Maya we can know something. This Maya, what? A power of Krishna, by which we have forgotten us and thinking that this body is me and related to this body is mine. By which power of Krishna we think like so, it is Maya. Also, though who is here in the form of Antaryami Purush, Paramatma, and he knows everything, and he himself watching only, looking, and jivas are not doing. They are Dehatma Buddhi, they enjoy the fruits of their karmas. This is Maya, by which we are always injured in our soul, gross and subtle body. This is Maya, by which power we are controlled and do Shubh and Ashubh karma, auspicious and inauspicious karma. And we take birth and death, and for whole life, our whole time creation, we are going and coming and thus suffering. Oh, that is Maya. And by which Mahapralaya that he explained is done. Oh, she is Maya, very duraktaya, difficult. Only those who are mam maya duraktaya mamev je prapadyante mayam etam. Only those who will take shelter of Guru Vaishnava and serve Krishna and full surrendered to Krishna, only they can cross that endless Maya. And then he is asking Nemi Maharaj, oh, very satisfied, I am very satisfied by your answer. Now I want to know, this Maya is very difficult to cross, very difficult. But how we can very easily overcome by this Maya, you.
Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Srila Gurudev has ordered me to discuss the next question and answer of Nimi Maharaj to the 9 Yogendras. So far we've heard the answer first of Kavi, and then Havir, and then Antariksha. This is now will be answered by Prabhuda, who is the 4th of the 9 Yogendras. Antariksha, when he was finishing his completion of the illusory energy, he said, "Now I've summed up the description of the illusory energy. What more do you want to hear?" So Nimi Maharaj was very pleased, and he again asked, "Please explain how even a foolish person, a foolish materialistic person, can transcend and cross over the illusory energy, which is very, very difficult to overcome, unless one is self-controlled." So now, Prabhuda is replying. He agrees that it's very difficult to overcome for one who is not self-controlled, and he explains the workings and the illusion. He said, accepting the roles of male and female, human beings, in fact all living entities, engage in sex life, thinking that by this process their misery will come to an end and they'll enjoy unlimited happiness. But actually, the opposite comes to pass. All their happiness disappears and their misery increases again and again and further and further. Then he talks about wealth. Everyone is working so hard for wealth. And Srila Gurudev often quotes this verse, Nityartha dena vitena durlabena atmamrityuna grihaptaptasya pasubhi kapritir sadais chalai. Wealth is the perpetual source of distress. In fact, it is virtual death for the soul. What satisfaction can one acquire by his attainment of his hard-earned wealth? Similarly, how can one gain any permanent happiness by his home, his family, or his household animals, which are maintained by this hard-earned wealth? There's no happiness there. Then he continues to explain that anywhere in the material world, there's no happiness. One cannot find happiness even on the heavenly planets, where the demigods reside. Even in heaven, the living entity is subject to rivalry of other demigods and those who are superior to him. There's still envy, and envy is a cause of great pain. Since the residence in the heavenly planets is exhausted after some time, his pious activities, as Gurudev said, everyone is enjoying and suffering the results of their pious activities and impious activities, sometimes going to heaven, and when those pious activities are used up, then they go to hell. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave a very nice analogy in his teachings to Srila Sanatana Goswami. In ancient India, there was a way of punishment for the culprits, they would be taken to the middle of the river on a boat, and then they would be dumped under the water. And just before they would die, they would be picked up by their hair, and they would get one breath. "Ah, please don't put me under that water again. I promise I won't do anything bad." And just as soon as they get their breath, again under the water, up and down. So sometimes the living entity is in the heavenly planets, and sometimes, just like a Ferris wheel, he's sometimes in the hellish planets. These demigods resemble kings who, although they're worshipped by those citizens who think that the king is living in the lap of luxury and is very happy, those kings are always oppressed by rival kings who are envious of them. And they're always trying to control and trying against the will of destiny, of their own destiny, to maintain power, to maintain prestige. So even those in the most powerful positions are always suffering and afraid of losing their positions, always envious of others, always angry, always conniving and manipulating, and in this way they feel all kinds of pain. So what is the way out? These are the foolish people. And the question by Nimi Maharaj is, how can even the foolish materialist cross over the insurmountable illusory energy, which is not possible to be free from for one who is not self-controlled? So here, Prabhupada, sage Prabhupada, is first explaining the various kinds of persons who are not self-controlled, and now he's giving the way out. And you'll all recognize this very, very popular and very important verse coming up. Tasmad gurum prabhadyeta jigyasu sreya uttamam shabde pare janisnatyam brahmani upasamashrayam. Therefore, considering the very miserable condition in all species of life, and the waste of time in trying to be happy, and the more we make arrangements to be happy, the more miserable we become. Therefore, a person who seriously desires happiness, there's two kinds of happiness, Shreyas and Preyas. One who wants Shreya Uttama, the highest real happiness. Our Srila Prabhupada gives an analogy of Preyas and Shreyas. Preyas means temporary, false happiness. Just like a baby will be crawling. And a baby, as many of you know, has no sense of discrimination. The baby in crawling will see an open safety pin and think, "Oh yes, this is for my eating. It's so shiny." And then he'll put it in his mouth and become full of misery and pain and blood. Whereas an adult, he'll discriminate. This is for my eating and this is not for my eating. This will be bad for me and this will be good for me. I was once on a morning walk with our Srila Prabhupada in 1969 in Boston, and there was a pigeon eating vomit in the street. So he said he has no discrimination, and most everybody has no discrimination. A human being has to discriminate what they eat and what they don't. And similarly, one who wants real happiness has to discriminate what is good for me and what is not good for me. So what does he do to find out? One who seriously desires real happiness must seek out a bona fide spiritual master and inquire from him and accept initiation from him. The qualification for the bona fide guru is that he must have realized all the scriptures, not only knowing them, quoting so many verses one after another, or even explaining their meaning, but he has to have realized these verses, which he has done either by his natural identity from descending from the spiritual world as an associate of the Lord, or he became like that as a sadhan siddha by having full faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his own spiritual master, who thus revealed to him all the Vedic literatures. So one who has become spiritual master by fully surrendering to his own guru, or one who has descended from the kingdom of God and is now acting as a spiritual master, acting in the madhyama capacity of making distinctions between a person who is qualified to receive instructions, a person who is to be neglected. In that way, he takes shelter of that bona fide spiritual master who has realized all the conclusions of scriptures, and because of his realizations, he's fully detached. Brahmani upasamashrayam. He has no material desires and no material anxieties. And he knows all scriptures, he's detached, and he has full realization of the Supreme Lord. That is, minimum, he would be in order to be able to give that highest benefit, minimum, he would be engaged in at least having visions of the Lord as a person in Bhava Bhakti, as a Madhyam Uttam. And then, even that Madhyam Uttam would turn his disciple over to an Uttama Mahabhagwat once he knows such a person is present. And that person can actually give the highest Prema Bhakti.
Jai Gurudev.
So then, Sage Prabhupada continues to explain how the disciple should act in relation to his self-realized spiritual master. Accepting his spiritual master as his life and soul and worshipable deity, as the verse quoted yesterday, Bhaktiaika Jaisam Gurudeva Tatma. The disciple who wants to be free from all fear and all sense of duality, and freedom from seeing anything outside of its relationship with Krishna. He accepts the bona fide spiritual master as his worshipable deity and as his very life, and is more intimate than his own soul. So he explains he should be very clean and tolerant and engage in the service of his spiritual master, studying the Vedas under the direction of the spiritual master. And in this way, even a person who's in gross ignorance can be freed from the illusory energy by the influence of that spiritual master who is more intimate than his own soul. I'll end here, but I wanted to mention one small thing that happened in Australia a few years ago. Srila Gurudeva was giving lectures on this verse that was quoted yesterday by Amrutya Viniveshita Syad, that one should see the spiritual master as more intimate than his own Atma. So the next morning, I asked him, you say that we should see the spiritual master as closer to us than our own soul, but I don't see that way. Whenever I see you, I'm always fearful and I feel guilty that I'm not serving you properly. So Gurudev said, yes, that's why I gave that class. So you should know that there's no separation any more than there is separation between fire and its heat. Just like there's no separation between Krishna and the gopis, and yet they're always feeling separation. Similarly, there's no real separation of the guru and the disciple. So when Gurudev walks in, the disciple who recognizes this doesn't see, oh, Gurudev is talking to that person and smiling at that person. Why isn't he talking and smiling and appreciating me? Rather, he thinks, oh, my heart has just come into the room. My soul has just come into the room. And now he's speaking with this person and that person. And thus, that disciple becomes happy, increasingly happy. Thank you.
Very good, you explained very well. But yet, the purport of this sloka, this is question. how easily we can cross this Duratya Maya. And then he told, everywhere in Srimad Bhagavatam and all Shastra, Tasmat Guru Bhakti. So, Guru Nishtha is the backbone of Bhakti. If no Guru Nishtha, anyone cannot have real Bhakti. So bottle like Bhakti we can have. So must be high class of Guru Nishtha. Obey him. Even we can give up our life for Guru service. Srila Prabhupada Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati used to tell, if for my Guru Seva, I will go to hell for whole life and Jan and Jan. Krishna cannot do you. He knows, he does not know that you are suffering or what. But incarnation, the Guru, his associates knows. But we don't recognize him. Even his Madhyam Adhikari, no harm. Try to please him. Don't do anything against him. If he will criticize his associates, himself, then what will be? You will go down. Don't criticize in any occasion. Never and never. If he is doing wrong, even you are not his guardian authority. Guru need to tell us. In this way, we should accept a Guru and obey him and give your life to please him. If he is not happy, you should not do that. If Guru wants, then even by giving life, we should try to do this. All living entity, himself, and in combined effort, they want happiness. But they never. Instead of happiness, only sorrow, suffering, problems coming. That is why go to Gurudev and be surrendered there. And then be initiated properly. And then learn the system of bhakti, process of bhakti. And then give up all attachment, worldly attachment. If you are doing bhakti, getting so many classes, high class of Raslila and others, don't buy the bhakti. Even they cannot save you. Only Guru can save. So we should give up all our attachment, always Hari Katha in Sadhu Sangha. And what he told by second question, that and Brahmacharya, very simple, not giving any pain to any beings. And in all living entity, seeing your worshipable deity Krishna, and those who are Bhakti Shastra, you should have very nishtha, honor them, but don't criticize Anya Shastra. They are also anyhow far away. They are telling same bhakti indirectly. And you should keep control on your indriya, especially your tongue. Tongue is evil of all evil roots. And Sarvapari, among all, you should always hear the very powerful, wonderful, sweet pastimes of Krishna. and preach this to others. And what you have, give up to Krishna. This is the purport of that. Then he asked fifth question. What is the Swarup of Narayan or Supreme Personality? Yeah. You do Australian melody. Male will sing with him and female with their party.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Maharaj became satisfied and very happy. And then he asked, please tell me, who is that Narayan or Bhagavan to whom we have to do bhakti? Who is he? What is Brahma Tattva like, or Supreme Personality of Godhead, his Tattva? Please tell me. Madhav Maharaj will speak. No? Can you? Why you cannot?
Guruve Gaurachandra Radhikaya Tadale Krishna Krishna Bhakta Tadavakta Namo Namaha. So first I offer pranams, the lotus feet of Gurudev, on Vishnupad, Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaja, Sannyasis, Vaishnavas. So we're very fortunate to hear the beginning of the 11th canto. It's described, these 12 cantos of Bhagavatam is Krishna's Swarup. So the 10th canto is Krishna's face. The 5 chapters dealing with Ras Lila is Krishna's smile. The 11th canto is the head, means the brain of Krishna, figuratively speaking. Because there, after giving instructions, after fixing the goal in the 10th canto, 11th canto gives the process of sadhana bhakti. So already this is the 5th question asked by Maharaj Nimi to the Navayogendras, the sons of Bhagavan Rishabdev. So you think carefully what we've heard so far. What is Bhagavad Dharma? What is Bhakti Tattva? What is Maya Tattva? What is Bhakta Tattva? And now we're hearing what is Bhagavat Tattva. What is the Swarup of Narayan? Therefore, Nimi Maharaj, he asked, please tell me if you think I'm qualified to understand. What is the Swarup of the Supreme Lord, Sri Narayan? So the Navayogendras, which one was it? Maharaj said, even though Bhagavan is present in the creation, maintenance and dissolution of the universe, still he has no cause himself. Even though he is the cause of all causes, and all effects which we see in this world is nothing else but him, still he maintains a separate existence outside of everything. Just like in Chaturslok Bhagavatam, see, Narayan gave that inspiration to Brahma. Aham eva sagevagli nanijat sadasatparam tatpasat taritacha yoviseto so asmi aham. Oh Brahmaji, what you see before the creation there was only me. What you see now, this creation is nothing else but me. And after this creation is dissolved, only I exist. Therefore Bhagavatam gives the example like a spider, isn't it? That spider web comes from no one else but him. But before the spider was there. That spider web comes from the spider. And after the spider web is dissolved back into the spider, only the spider exists. Therefore the Supreme Lord, he is both the cause and the effect of everything in creation, material and spiritual, but still he maintains a separate creation, a separate existence outside of cause and effect. Therefore it is he only which pervades everything. So this 11th canto is a very wonderful explanation of Advait Gyan Tattva. How nothing is separate from Krishna. Just like in the waking state, the dream state, and the state of deep sleep. Everything else, the Supreme Lord enters all senses. And everything which is perceived is nothing else but an expansion of him. For example, Nimi Maharaj was explaining this Gyanindriya by which we acquire knowledge. Who gives the power for those senses to work? Nothing else but the Paramatma himself. These senses themselves are created by Bhagavan's and Bahiranga Shakti, his Maya Shakti. Therefore Bhagavan himself is creating the senses. He's giving direct inspiration for the senses to work through perception. But he himself, even though nothing else is being perceived except him, still he maintains separateness from everything. This is the Swarup of Bhagavan. In simple words, nothing is separate from him, but still he maintains a separate existence from everything. Therefore, but do not think because these senses come from Sri Narayan that he can be perceived by sense perception. This is not true. Just like it's not necessary, just like a spark, when it goes back into the fire, is no benefit for the fire anyway. In the same way, even though sense perception comes from him, still, the sensitive living entity cannot in any way transform his Swarup, nor can he be understood by direct sense perception. What to speak of Bhagavan not being able to be described or realized by the senses? Srila Goswami says, Atasi Krishna namadi na bhavagrim indriya sevan mukha hijiva do swayameva spuriti yada. What to speak of the senses being unable to perceive him? In fact, even the Vedic literatures cannot completely describe him. Therefore, not even the authoritative language of the Vedas can perfectly describe the absolute truth. Because the Vedas themselves say that the Supreme Lord cannot be understood by words alone. Therefore, in Vedanta Sutra, the last one, Sabda Anubritat, Sabda Anubritat. The Supreme Lord is beyond all type of, he cannot be expressed by words. Therefore, finally the Shastra says he is avachaniya. The Vedas say he cannot be described by words because he is indescribable. Therefore, finally, the Vedas themselves says nayati. Nayati. He is not this, he is not that. How we can completely describe him. Therefore, even though the Vedas try to give reference to the Supreme Lord directly and indirectly, still they cannot achieve complete success. Therefore, there is only one absolute truth. Those three modes of nature by which everything appears to be different from him is nothing else but his external illusory potency. Thus he is so unknowable that even the demigods cannot completely understand him. That supreme absolute truth is the source of all subtle and gross manifestations, but he is simultaneously transcendental to them because he is absolute. Absolute means everything depends upon him for their existence, but Krishna does not depend upon anyone for his existence because he is called Swarat or self-manifest. Okay.
Thank you. The purport is that what is the Swarup of Bhagavan? Who is the root cause of whole universe? Srishti, Sthiti and Pralaya. Also, you should know there are so many worshipable deities in India. In Vedic literature, Puran, it has been told. Like sometimes Brahma, Shankar, sometimes Ganesh, sometimes Surya, sometimes Shakti, sometimes Narayana, sometimes Dwarkadhi, sometimes Brajesh Krishna. Oh, they are so different. What should we think? So he is telling that really who is Anadiradi Govinda Sarva Karan Karana. He is the root cause of everything. Brahma, Shankar, Indra and the others, only they are bhakta. Adhikarik Devata for creation to save creation like this. Narayan, Nishingadev, Varadev, Sri Ramchandra, not different of Krishna. Krishna is then ete chan sakala punsa Krishnastu Bhagavan. Indriyar lokam mridyanti. Krishna is supreme lords of lords. He comes in the form of sometimes Ramchandra, Nishingadev, Kalki, Vaman, so many things. So, even Narayan is not, he is worshipable. Ram is worshipable. Nishing is worshipable. But, Krishna comes in their forms. They are not, their existence is not independent. They depend on Krishna. Also, Narayan cannot do Ras. Nrsimha, if Ras is going, Nrsimha will go, then all will. No Ras. Even Ramchandra cannot do. He is tightened in Valli Sita. So anyone cannot do this. Anyone cannot pick up feather, float Valli Krishna. He can make Ras. So Krishna is supremely. Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam jad jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan shakti. Only one Krishna is there, Bhagavan. His existence is there, his form is there, all qualities are there. But when we will see by the knowledge, vision of knowledge, O Brahma. And when we see by Jog, then like Paramatma. And when we see by Bhakti, then with all attributes we see that Krishna is supreme head of all. Brahma is only the shadow or effulgences of the nails only. And Paramatma only like this in heart, like Antaryami. So you must know that supreme versatile deity, Bhagavat Tattva, is Krishna. Then he told, oh, very good. I want to know that what is the purport of Vedas? So many rishis and maharshi, they became what? Confused. What Vedas are telling? In Veda it has been telling, Vedas are telling that do sacrifice. Take the meat of horses and all other things which are sacrificed. And you should marry, grihastha life. And then you can take wine. What is the purpose? Who will? Can you? Oh Prabhu, you are sleeping. Can you? Shauti Maharaj? Then you? Or what name? Radhakant Prabhu? Where? Where? Can you? Bhagavat? No try. If you will.
Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jaina Tasmaya Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Taralaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha. I first of all offer my Dandavat pranams unto my beloved Gurudev, Om Vishnu Pad, Paramahamsa Paradajikacharya, Astavatar Sarshishimad, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaja, and unto all the Jnana Sannyasis and the Vaishnavas, because of Lord Dandavat Pranam. So the inquiry is being addressed to Avihotra Maharaj, responds to Nemi Maharaj's question about the purport of the Vedic literature. There are many instructions throughout the Vedic literatures as to sakarm karma, nishkarm karma, etc. and Vikama also. But it's described how if we do activities wanting some result, this is Sakam, and the example is Dhruva Maharaj. So this is not the highest practice for our devotion. If we perform some act of devotion, but we're wanting some remuneration for it, then this is called Sakam. But Nishkam Karma Yoga is described as not wanting any remuneration for my effort. But still, this is not Shuddha Bhakti. Shuddha Bhakti is beyond Nishkam. In the stage of Nishkam Karma Yoga, the practitioner is thinking that this is my effort, or this is my facility that I'm providing for the Lord. Whereas Shuddha Bhakti, he has the vision that's been previously described of seeing everything as the Lord's potency. So he's utilizing all the Lord's energy back again in the Lord's service. This is Shuddha Bhakti as compared to Nishkam Karma Yoga. So these three types of yoga are discussed here. And it's saying here in this translation, childish and foolish people are attached to materialistic, fruitive activities, although the actual goal of life is to become free from such activities. Therefore, the Vedic injunctions indirectly lead one to the path of ultimate liberation by first prescribing fruitive religious activities. This is Sakam Karma Yoga. Just as a father promises his child candy so that the child will take his medicine. So the Vedic scriptures